Welcome to Just an Average Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome into Just an Average Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hayes, with Matt Baker.
That's me.
You can find us at avgffpod.com. You can go there, click the buttons to take it to Apple, Spotify, just about anywhere else. You scroll down at the bottom, you can actually just listen right there on the website to our embedded player, and it generally has about the last 10 or so episodes on there. I'm working on, if it's not distributed to these other ones, I should probably check, but trying to get us on some other stuff. But man, they are very strict about the pixels and the resolution for your logo. Yeah. So I'm having to download software to do all that. It's so dumb, dude.
What's that really matter?
I guess because of their programs that they fit so the logo will upload into it properly. But it's so dumb. It's like we're already on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And I went in there and it was saying that I'm not distributed to Spotify because of my logo issues. And then I went to our Spotify and I'm like, we're there. Our stuff's being uploaded. So I don't know. Yeah. It's all dumb. And it's the same logo that we have everywhere else. I don't get it. But either way, I don't know if we're on iHeartRadio or there's Amazon. No, not Amazon. Yeah, Amazon Prime podcasts and stuff like that. We're also on YouTube. You can go there and listen to us as well. So yeah, go there, check us out. Tell your friends. Let's try to get this thing going. Get some plays. We have a little bit of an uptick as the season is getting closer. So
we're definitely on YouTube. I got a notification for the first time the other day.
Oh, really?
That said we uploaded. So, because I follow us as well.
Oh, okay.
And this is the first time that I've gotten a notification
nice.
that we posted.
Nice.
We posted to it. So,
yes.
Something's going right.
So, yeah, if you guys go and follow, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen. Please subscribe. It helps us. It helps our numbers boost. We can't get advertising until we get to a certain number, and we're not even close to that number per month. So if we ever get to that number and we can get some paid advertising, who knows where this thing could go, end up being. Because if I can get paid advertising, then I can turn that money into paying to be advertised.
Yes.
Instead of having to come out of pocket to try to do that. So, we would really appreciate so we can quit our day jobs and just talk football all the time. But as it stands right now, we're going to keep doing the day job, and we're still going to talk football, but
as much as we can. Yeah.
So we're going to break down some people that we think are the way the current ADPs, and most of the ADPs right now are coming off of best ball drafts. So you have to always take that into account when you're looking at these ADPs and you're like, why is this guy up there? And it's like, oh, because it's best ball, and this guy is more of a best ball type person. But we are starting to get some regular redraft drafts going and whatnot. And so we are getting a little bit better data. So we're just going to go and kind of look at the early ADPs and see some players that we think maybe aren't being valued where as high as they should be, or maybe they're being valued too high in our opinions, in our humble opinions. So before we do that, we'll hit on a little bit of news. Format. I have a news button. We'll see. Oh, Jesus, I didn't know if it was one of the speakers. Welcome to the news segment. Okay, here we go. This is way too intense for the news I'm about to bring.
Yeah, that was
nothing major. There's, with training camp, the 3-day camp and stuff that's going on right now, there are going to be injuries and things like that. So there's, Anthony Richardson's dealing with something. Supposedly he's going to be ready for training camp.
Just go ahead. That's like putting the horse down before the injury, right? Just go ahead and tell us he's hurt before the season starts, and
so we don't waste our time. James Cook did report for the mandatory 3-day thing, and he's out there playing. So that's a good sign for anybody out there who's wondering about the contract negotiations and stuff going on with them. And so, but there's a few other minor injuries out there. Think, knock on wood, nothing major's come across the wire as of yet. It's gonna happen. It's football. It happens every year.
Somebody got carted off the field yesterday or day before yesterday.
Must not have been anything major because I don't remember the notification that made me go, "Oh shit!"
It was. I don't remember who it was.
Oh. because I have been known. Although I did miss a bunch of notifications today because I was.
It wasn't anything that came across on Sleeper. It was something. That
Shadur Sanders pulled over doing 100.
Yeah, that was that meme I sent you. That was freaking hilarious.
Let's see. Quarterback corner Jair Alexander signed with the Ravens.
That's pretty.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Yeah, pretty big. If he's got any juice left, that's going to be a pretty big deal there.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's about the gist of it, based off of my notifications that I see. Major stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. So make sure all your notifications on all your apps are on, because this is the year. This is the time of year where we start getting all this stuff. But I did want to ask you, Matt, when you hear reports coming out of camp, say you hear reports of Bashaw Tutins running with the ones in Jacksonville. Are you like, oh snap, Bashaw Tutin's about to be the starting running back down there? Or you're like, it's way too fucking early to make any sort of determination?
I got ruined in 2021, falling prey to all the preseason hype and everything. I mean, we always come back to that whole. He can't catch the ball. He can't see the ball. The whole thing with Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it didn't have the stripe on it like it did in college.
Dude owns the field right now, and there's so many people that didn't even look at him in the top 3 rounds of rookie draft. So
I fell prey to that too. And I was like, oh, Jamar Chase is about to be a bust. Thankfully, I didn't have him, so I didn't get rid of him.
Yeah.
But I wish I could go back in time and go after him, because people were offloading Chase.
And even in the rookie drafts and stuff, they weren't even grabbing him till like the 3rd round.
But people who drafted him early in like the 1st round, once the news started coming out about and the negative press, they were like offloading him for like future thirds.
Give me a second or a third next year. Yeah, exactly. Trying to get something going and all that stuff.
So there's that. So there is a way you can capitalize. I think that's probably the thing that I try to do now is. If I'm in a rebuild and I've got veteran players on my team, or even if I got younger players that I'm willing to get rid of to accumulate picks or other players, as soon as the hype machine starts rolling, like I have McCaffrey, in a couple of rebuilds. I actually made a deal with you, not just for McCaffrey, for a couple picks, young player, and then McCaffrey was part of it. But my whole thing is, because my team's at least 2 years, maybe 3 years away from being competitive. The whole idea was, okay, I'll pull McCaffrey. And as long as he's healthy, and we're going to talk more about him in a little while too, but as long as he's healthy and he has good press, I can move him. And hopefully get a decent haul, especially if he starts out the season pretty good. I could probably get a first or maybe more for him in season to a contender. So, I think that's kind of where I try to do it. And I will say that I kind of concentrate on the negatives sometimes more than the positive. Like if they come out and they say, so-and-so, man, this guy's catching everything thrown to him. I'm like, okay, cool. But if they come out and like, man, like we're talking about Jamar, this dude's dropping everything thrown to him. I'm like, get rid of the guy quick.
I'm like, holy shit,
he's the worst.
I got to figure out what I got to do with this. This is not going to work,
And sometimes I fall prey more to the negative press than the positive. So yeah, I'm like you now. I think we've gone around this. We've gone around the world a couple times dealing with this. Where like when I first started fantasy, especially Dynasty. Whatever little bit of news was, boom, I'm going to go sign that guy off the waivers.
Yeah.
You remember how I was cycling my rosters? I haven't hardly signed anybody.
Last year, right?
I mean, I still do it, but like this year, I'll see, there's a dude for the Raiders, Deshaun, wide receiver. He's running with the ones right now. He's running on the outside with Trey Tucker. My brain he has the same last name as another guy that's really good.
That narrows it down.
Yeah. Anyway, that guy's getting a lot of hype. Well, he's like an undrafted guy or a late round guy.
Yeah.
And everybody's going, and so like as soon
Dante
as
Thornton.
Thornton. Maybe not good. Another guy that we thought was going to be good because of Thornton, but everybody went and grabbed him. And so I was like looking. I mean, the thing is, dude's 6'5", runs a 4.38.
He's only 200 pounds too.
Yeah, 205. I think is what they say he's at now. And so he, dude's fast. He's tall and fast, and maybe he does turn into something. But the thing is that most likely, based off of where he was drafted, he's going to be. You're not going to hear anything.
He's a 4th round pick.
4th.
Yeah, 108th overall. So
How many
he's an
4th
early
round
fourth.
picks make it? Not many.
6.
But my point being is like I didn't even like I would usually go dump somebody off my roster
and grab him,
immediately.
If I have like empty space,
yeah, I mean that's my problem too. Is a lot of my teams I have the players I don't want to cycle.
You got
off
people
right
you
now.
don't want to drop and kind of move and everything. Yeah,
I mean if I start getting some bad, like there are some teams where I got like Jalen Polk and I was getting ready to drop him, but then coming out of Patriots camp, Polk is like their best receiver right now.
That's a hard. Baker was talked really hyped up last preseason. Javon Baker, right?
Yes.
Javon Baker and Jalen Polk.
We'll just go with Baker and Polk.
Yeah, it's Baker and Polk. But I'm not. He was hyped up last year coming in, into the season and everything. And I don't even know that he saw the field hardly last year. So it's so tough for me preseason. I'm just like, I take what I hear and then I do my own little bit of research. I go look at some video because it's out there. You do the research, you can find it, and then I might like star them up in sleeper. You can star them and kind of watch them.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, I go check and see who I got started. And it'll be mid-season. I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, I do check the trending a lot in sleeper. I think that's a cool thing that they have.
Yeah.
I do.
It brings light to people you don't typically think about.
It does, and so I check that a lot. But it's like if you listen to Dave Canales last year, Jonathan Mingo was getting ready to go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
how good he was doing in preseason. I think he was a bum, and he was a second round pick.
Yeah, and he's at Dallas, buried in the depth chart now.
I don't think he's at Dallas anymore.
So he's gone. So
I think he's at like the Chargers or something now.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if it's Chargers, but I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere the other day that he's on a different roster.
I'm curious. He's still in Dallas.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, who the hell?
According to this.
Okay, well, maybe he is. There's somebody that's somewhere that that narrows it down, but there was somebody that I saw and I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize they were there, and I thought it was Mingo, but
yeah, no, it's got Jonathan Mingo still at Dallas.
Yeah. Well, but
I mean, not that it really. I mean,
they're still waiting on that Trey Lance, Jonathan Mingo
combination
to take them to the Super Bowl. So
hey, it could happen. Stranger things have happened, right?
I don't know.
There's got to be one thing that's stranger than the last strangest thing that happened make it.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened. That'll be what we're talking about in 2 years.
If you're talking about the show, stranger things have happened.
Well, that's already happened. Yeah, that's done. But
all right, well, I just want to kind of put that out there. Yeah, I think this is a very dangerous year, the time of year for the hype, when the hype train gets rolling on some of these players. What's the opposite of the hype train? The D-hype? The shit hype? The shit train?
Trash panda.
The trash panda train, yeah. Whichever train is opposite of the hype train, where the down talking train. That's not a good name for a train.
Yeah, so we're gonna call it the hype train and the shit wagon.
I like that.
We'll go with the shit wagon. It's not a train.
No.
It's the shit wagon.
Jamar Chase got thrown on the shit wagon.
He got thrown on the shit wagon his rookie year. And
that's what it is. The hype train and the shit wagon. So when the hype train,
pending, copyright, just an average fantasy football podcast.
When the hype train or the shit wagon start rolling through with your teams or players, just take a pause before you make drastic decisions.
Yeah, don't do anything drastic.
Oh, and I did want to mention as well, Jordan Addison is most likely, based off all experts' opinions, is looking at probably a 3-game suspension at the beginning of the season. His trial for his drunk driving and speeding charge from last season is beginning, I believe, at the end of this month. Maybe it's next month. I think it might be July 15th. But either way, it's beginning within the next few weeks, and once that's resolved, then the NFL will come in and they're going to give theirs. And I think the minimum punishment that he can receive is a 3-week suspension. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're doing these drafts. I think as the news gets more clear that he's going to miss suspension, he's going to plummet in ADP. In redraft, he could be somebody maybe you can get for nothing, and throw on your bench somewhere. And hopefully when he comes back, he'll be something. But if that happens, just get it for the redraft. Obviously in Dynasty, you're not dropping him.
Yeah,
but
if you
redraft,
got him, you're stuck. You're not doing nothing with him.
But in redraft, just keep that in mind. All right, so let's roll on into. I don't know. We're not. I don't want to steal everyone else's every other podcast's idea. So we're just going to call this over under.
Over under.
Yeah, that's terrible. I am not good with names today. Top or bottom? Oh God.
I'm racking my brain here. I'm trying to come up with
shit wagon.
Yeah, shit wagon. We're gonna
call it hype or shit wagon.
Hype train or shit wagon. That's what we're gonna call it.
There it is.
Hype train is the people we think are overvalued. Where the shit wagon are the people that are being undervalued and not being.
Oh, I was thinking it was opposite. I was thinking if you're on the shit train, because we're about to talk bad about them.
Oh yeah, no, I was thinking like we're looking at the ADP value, what they value, and we think they're on the shit wagon.
See, we had
because they're underhyped. Yeah,
see, that's what good art leaves plenty of room for everyone else's interpretation.
Oh yeah, which isn't good.
It's not good when you're doing an analytical show.
If you're trying to analyze something,
art,
exactly. It's like, oh wait, so they can interpret what I say as good and bad, even though I'm telling them not to draft this guy.
Well, if you want to speak in quantum, now there is a universe that exists where we're saying the opposite of what we're about to say for these players.
Matrix. We've been there.
All right, here we go. I'll kick it off with a player that I think currently is being overvalued. And I want to express before we get into this. Every one of the players that I got on my overvalued list are players that I like. Like if depending on what the value is, I am definitely willing to draft them. I just don't like where they're currently going, and I hope they drop. So the first one for me is Bucky Irvin. He is currently going off the board at RB10, 21st overall. I think last year for the entire Tampa Bay offense, it was a bit of an anomaly of how well they performed on all ends. Baker was sensational, 41 touchdowns. He was a top 5 fantasy quarterback. He did his thing. They lost their offensive coordinator, who's now the head coach of Jacksonville. So they're bringing in a new system, and you still have White's still there, going to be demanding touches, and I just, they went and drafted a first-round wide receiver. They already have 2 other wide receivers. You got, a lot of what Bucky did, he did that without Godwin there, because he did it towards the back half of the season. K. Dotton started coming on last season. So you got a lot of mouths to feed there. To me, Bucky Irvin is not a 25-touch back, and so he's going to need pass catching. He's going to need a diverse offense. He's going to need space to work. And so I'm not saying I think Bucky's going to be good. I just don't know if he's going to be RB1 good.
Well, I mean, he finished in PPR as RB13 last year.
Right.
On what he had, playing less than 50% of the snaps average.
Right.
Most of the games he played less than 50%, but there were a few where he played over 50%. And I mean, his games where he did astronomical, where he did amazing, you're looking on the shoulder of 15 plus carries a game.
Right.
You know what I mean? On average. And like you said, Rachaad White's going to demand touches. And they got Ibuka. They got Godwin coming back. They got Mike Evans still. Yeah. They got, like you said, K. Dotton. There's tons of mouths to feed. Tons of stuff going on there.
He's 22. He's 22 years old, but he's 5'10". He's 195 pounds.
It's hard to put a lot of faith on a running back to finish 5 positions over what he finished last year on a really good year. Right. If that makes sense.
On a really good year for the entire offense.
Let's say he does play 50+%. That puts him at that much more opportunity to get injured and run the risk of, you're looking at him by week 6 being out of the game for 4 weeks. You know what I mean? And stuff. So, I mean, you're drafting him at RB8 overall. Is that what you said?
He's currently RB10, 21st overall.
That's still 3 positions higher than what he finished.
If I could get him an RB15, I'm all in.
Even if you get him an RB13 where he finished last year, which I don't know where that ADP would be, but I mean, even still, if you could match him where he finished last year, that's, to me, that would be safe.
Yeah, that would be safe.
It's hard for me
he's definitely not somebody that I'm value shopping for. If you're drafting Bucky at RB10, that's because you're a Bucky believer.
You have to snatch him then. You're going to have to get him then because somebody else is going to go, this dude's going to be better than last year. And I don't know that offense is going to support that.
It's the history of guys his size sustaining that type of fantasy or even just performance overall. I mean, you look at what Devon Achane did 2 years ago. He was good last season, but he wasn't what he was his rookie year. You know what I'm saying? His explosiveness. Defenses figured him out. and stuff like that. And again, like I said, I love Bucky, but I'm not taking him at RB10. It's not something I want to do if I can get away with it, and stuff like that. I should probably bring the ADP back up while we're talking about it.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I mean, like I'm a really big Bucky fan too. I like that whole offense. It was kind of almost underdogish last year to see what they did and watching them come up and do missing Godwin and
because you look right here, like if I'm looking at Bucky Irvin to Kyron Williams, I'm taking Kyron Williams all day.
Honestly, I'd take Chase Brown over Bucky Irvin.
I would take Brees. Brees is going off underneath him as well at RB13, and look, and so those are three that I would definitely take in redraft over Bucky, and so.
And then when you get into this too, sometimes you got to look at not necessarily positional, but just available players in general. Yeah. And you could be grabbing some of these top end. You could grab, instead of grabbing Bucky, you could have grabbed Ladd McConkey. I mean, there's a potential that Ladd could finish great over what he did last year. So I mean, it can't always be on position, but it can always. You got to look at what other available options are out there at this point too. So
who's the guy on your list? All
right. Again, reiterating, it's not that I don't like the people. It's just that I feel it's a little overvalued. Nico Collins, he's going off the board. ADP 14, wide receiver 8, and honestly, no offense, this is a guy who hasn't done that yet in his career. And the 1 year that he did finish 12.5 point PPR, he had 109 targets and had other viable options out there. When Tank Dell went out last year, and he went out too. I mean, he was on pace to be better than the year before.
Right.
But really, we didn't see that, if that makes sense. This guy's been in the league for 4 years. He'll be 27 this year. In the middle of this year, and he's got to come in on a team that's kind of they drafted a receiver who's almost identical to him. I mean, 6'4", 222. Like I think they're like mirror image body size and position. Yes. So I just don't see this guy being able to get. Let's see, he had 109, so he's going to have to get 120, 130 targets outside
to go higher
in order to go higher, and he's got to move up 4-5 positions than he did 2 years ago,
right?
When their defense was really clicking, or not defense, excuse me, offense was really clicking. Last year, their offense was missing something. I don't know if they figured Stroud out. I don't know if it was just because Tank Dell went down and they had injuries everywhere, but it seemed kind of all over the place. But I just don't see Nico finishing. Maybe 12, where he finished prior, but wide receiver 8, that's a tough grab. You're reaching, in my opinion, to grab him that early, and I would take Brian Thomas Jr. over him, or not Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London over him.
I would take AJ Brown. I would take both of them over him. I mean, AJ Brown last year for the most of the season was wide receiver 6. Yeah, he was absolutely balling, and it didn't even look that good. Like as far as like you didn't see that like he was just dominating, but he was. So I mean, I don't know. I just think Nico's a little overvalued right now. And I think you can get better value elsewhere. Yeah,
looking in that.
I mean, if you're not even looking at, with him going off right now as, 14 overall, you look at, Jonathan Taylor. I'd take Jonathan Taylor over him. I'd probably take Brock Bowers over him.
Yeah.
Right there. Josh Jacobs is going there right there too. I was all prepared to argue against you because I love Nico Collins. I think when Nico Collins is healthy and he's on the field, he is a dominant, like number one alpha type receiver. But you're right. They brought in Noel, they brought in Higgins, 2 very good receivers that are going to demand targets. They do have a new offensive coordinator coming in, which is hopefully going to be good for them because Bobby Sloak was garbage as a coordinator last season. And so, we'll see. But they are a defense first team. That's how they want to play the game. And so
there just has to be a lot needs to work in perfect unison for him to beat out his being 12th overall in half point PPR. I mean, and that year he got 1,300 yards. So I don't know that I'm going to see him getting 130, 120 targets.
When he got 13, how many games did he play?
He played all 15 games.
Right.
He played 15 games.
15.
Yeah. And honestly, that's the only season he's had in the league that he's done well.
Right.
I mean, last season he was doing well.
Right.
And then he got hurt. Tank Dell got hurt.
And then the team kind of took
everything kind of, fumbled.
If you look at how they ran the ball last year too, are they going to do that this year? They just went and signed Chubb. Is Chubb going to make the roster?
Yeah,
and if he is, what are they going to do with that? Are they going to be a more of a ground and pound type offense or what?
They're going to try to pull some of that pressure off Stroud, because I think last year there was a little bit of Stroud kind of having to scramble a little bit more and get out of that sophomore get around. Slump. So I'm kind of, it just doesn't make sense to me to go in. Yeah, he had a good year 2 years ago, and he was on his pace for a great year last year.
Right.
And then just go grab him at the wide receiver 8. I just think there's better value there. You can get somebody else better down the line or whichever, But
agreed.
So,
all right. Well, my next one is Ashton Genty. Now, I love Ashton Genty.
Let me pull up his stats from. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, there aren't none. In Dynasty, he is the 101 in rookie drafts, unquestionable, no matter what format, in my opinion. But he is currently in redraft leagues, in best ball leagues. He's going off as the RB4, 9th overall. I am not taking him over Amon-Ra St. Brown, Derrick Henry, Brian Thomas, Christian McCaffrey, even Nico Collins. I'm not taking him over these people. A.J. Brown, it's like maybe somewhere around the Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irvin, part of that. Maybe in that realm, I'll grab him. But to take him as a first round draft pick, I just can't do it. He's a rookie. Now, listen, we all expect him to be great, but you know who was supposed to have been great? Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. Mm-hmm. You know what Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't? He wasn't great. And he was a once-in-a-lifetime best wide receiver, generational 101, unquestionable guy. And so until these guys get on the field, you look at what even Jahmyr Gibbs. I was off of Gibbs his rookie year. Now listen, the back half of the season, Jahmyr Gibbs kicked ass. If you go look at his rookie season, the beginning of the season
it was
garbage.
It was definitely very slow.
And he was drafted around the same place that Genty's being drafted right now. And I can tell you that, if Genty's going to be great at the end of the season, that's fine. I'll let someone else draft him at 10. I'll let them spend 5 weeks being pissed off because he's not doing anything. I'll go and offer them, I don't know, frickin' Joe Mixon for him later on in hopes that something's going to click, and then I'll get a RB1 on the back half of the season.
And you'll finish out the rest of the season, because you could easily grab, like you said, draft bait or trade bait this early in the season rather than picking up Genty.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
going to sit here and tell me that in a redraft league you're going to take Ashton Genty over Derrick Henry. That's
I'm not.
Insanity. Derrick Henry's RB5 and Ashton Genty's RB4. That is absolutely fucking bonkers to me.
Yeah.
That in a redraft you're going to do that. I would slap myself in the face if I did that.
Henry finished as the number 4.5 point PPR last year. And
yes. I mean, and here's the thing. I don't know. I forgot to mention this. This is on a completely different podcast, obviously, because we're not friends with Adam Sandler. But
speak for yourself.
I forget if it was Dan Patrick. I think it might have been Dan Patrick. But one of the big guys, because I know Dan Patrick is really good friends with Adam Sandler. But anyway, he said, so apparently we're going to take a left here real quick. Okay. Apparently Derrick Henry loves Adam Sandler. I mean, who wouldn't?
I remember reading this article.
Yeah. So Derrick Henry loves Adam Sandler. And so the deal is that if he rushes for 2,000 yards this season, he gets to be in an Adam Sandler movie. And so the person who, if it was Dan Patrick, said, "Okay, I'm going to make it happen. Do you agree?" He goes, and Derrick Henry's like, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, yeah. If I rush over 2,000 yards, I get to be in the Adam Sandler movie." So then Adam Sandler came on and agreed. Adam Sandler agreed with Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry rushes for 2,000 yards or more, he is in an Adam Sandler movie.
Game one, he gets 165 yards. Game one.
Yeah, in the first half.
It's going to be insane. I mean, I'm looking at it now. Last year, he had 325 attempts and 1,921 yards.
Yeah.
He averaged 5.9. His career best was last year per carry.
Yeah. Now, you think about last year, had he had this on the line of getting in an Adam Sandler movie?
Oh, yeah. No.
He got a few more touches.
Had he had in 2020, he had 378 touches. Had he averaged 5.9, he'd been at almost 3,000 yards. If my math hasn't fooled me,
I don't think
50 times 6, I mean, that's what, 300. So he'd have been at 2,400 yards.
Oh, okay.
He'd been almost halfway to 3,000 yards. But yeah, no,
it's halfway to 3,000.
Well, no, I mean almost halfway between 2,000 and 3,000 is what I'm saying. Almost halfway. But yeah,
I just want to say for all the listeners out there,
math is hard.
His math, I will say Baker is really good at math. He's super good at math, and I'm a absolute dumpster fire at math. But somehow on this podcast, because of his minus ones and plus ones,
it goes hectic.
That you're not good at math.
It's just a little bit.
But you try to do a lot of math on the fly sometimes. But anyway, so that's what my money's on Derrick Henry. So I would
definitely take Henry over Genty.
I'm all about Genty. But if this is where I got to get him, I will not be having any of him to draft I
won't have him redraft at all either. Not if that's what I got to spend.
Yeah. All right, so who's your next one?
Speaking of another one that's been going, I got kind of hung up on wide receivers, so we're going to just talk about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But next one, Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
Wide receiver 13, ADP 30 overall. Look, last year was his worst year in the league, and he finishes 18, and not a lot has changed there.
Well, I will say, a little bit of devil's advocate, when he got tackled by the police, he hurt his wrist. And he had to have off-season surgery for that.
Yeah.
And he played the whole rest of the season with that. Now, I don't know I don't think that was the only reason he wasn't good last year.
What week was that? Do you know what week that was approximately, or
like 5 or 6? It was
early.
I believe it was early in the season. If that's just a complete guess.
Week 14, he had 14 targets and 10 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know how much of it had to do with that. There was a whole funk with the Dolphins. We could do a whole podcast on just the Dolphins.
What's going on. Yeah.
And with Mike McDaniel and whether he's good or bad and what that team is about and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of funk. There's a little bit of attitude going on there and stuff. So I don't know. The Dolphins really scare me this year as a whole.
Yeah.
I did make a deal to pick up Jalen Waddle in some trades because he's being sold pretty cheap, but that was just because the price was so cheap I could get him. But other than that, I just that team is just it's not something I really want to invest in on any parts, even HN.
Well, I mean, at wide receiver 13, I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Since he's been in the league, when he's played a full season, dude's been a top 8 or better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's also 30 years old.
He'll be 32 this year.
32. Yeah, so you got to take that into account.
He'll be 32. He's coming off the injury with the surgery. Yeah. If it was surgery and needed it, we don't know what he's going to come back from. Right. Older ages, it takes longer to heal. There's always something that's going to be lingering. Once I turn 30, every injury I got still reminds me of the injury I just got. So
wait till you become 48.
At wide receiver 13, where he's going off, let's see who's around him that I would probably draft. T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, George Kittle.
I don't know if I'm not a big T. Higgins person, but I would take Garrett. I would take Kittle.
I might go ahead and grab a quarterback here and grab Jaden Daniels before that. At that point, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of avoiding Rashee Rice a little bit till I hear some.
We're going to talk about Rice in a minute.
Okay.
You can give your counter argument to that then.
Terry McLaurin, I'd probably grab him over Tyreek. I think he's poised to have his finally wide receiver 1 big season.
Tyreek is the perfect case of what do you believe? Do you believe he still has that wide receiver 1 dominant? Because if he does, he can break records. He can break records.
He will be top 5.
And you're getting him at there. But is he 32? Is he done? Is his mind out of football now? Because he talked about, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago? He's like, I'm gonna play 2 more years and I'm done. He also had
30% less targets last year.
He also had 14 kids between then and now.
He's got 2 just now.
Yeah,
it just happened right now.
Yeah, right before the podcast.
Him and Nick Cannon were having kids right before this all happened.
So he's got to play for them.
Like 160 targets or better the last 3 years, and last year had 120.
And their whole offense shifted. If you remember last year, it all of a sudden became the Jonnu Smith show.
Yep.
Is that going to continue? Are they going to try to go back to the fly line because of that? the one thing is and I've said this before and I'll say it again, defensive coordinators are the smartest people in the NFL, and they'll eventually figure you out
and start shutting you down.
Yeah, and that's what they did. Mike McDaniels came in. He had this fast, fly high offense, and they were slinging it everywhere. They were like number 2 in scoring their first season, and then they plummeted every season since then.
It's just taking
their scoring's gone down because the defenses have figured out. You put a cover 2 shell, you put a top on that defense, you keep everything in front of you, and you let them do that. And so all of a sudden, it became Jonnu Smith and Jonnu Smith and Jonnu Smith, and Tyreek's just not built to work the middle of the field and play the slant game. He's not Michael Thomas.
Exactly.
So,
So, yeah.
I see it. He was almost on my list as well, but when you asked a question about Tua when we were scrolling, and I was like, but he's – because Tua wasn't on the thing, and I was like, he's probably going to put Tyreek aside.
I was looking back to see what games Tua missed, and I was trying to figure out what weeks he was out so that I could – because I didn't want to go, because Tua wasn't there, that's why Tyreek didn't get there. But that's not it. It wasn't that at all. I mean, it was –
Tua played it. Like, in my mind, I feel like Tua missed 14 games last season. But in reality, he only missed like 4 or 5.
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad at all. But like you said, the whole offense took a hurt.
Yeah.
All the way around. I mean,
and Achane was catching hella balls when he was out there.
Yeah.
And so it's like they became this dink and dunk, throw it over the middle type offense,
which left Tyreek as a decoy downfield rather than being the guy that got it.
He is the diva of divas. When he's not getting the ball, all of a sudden he don't want to be here. He's taking the team name off of his Instagram.
Yep.
He's saying shit in the media. So, you have to take all that into account. All right. My next one is, and this one hurts a little bit because I love him, but DJ Moore. And listen, my argument's not going to sound good when you hear the stats, okay? Because where he's being drafted is basically where he finishes almost every year. He's being drafted at wide receiver 20, 45th overall. And he either finishes right around there or better in every full season that he's ever been in since he's played. And so you say, oh, well then why the fuck are you saying he's overdrafted if he's basically being drafted? Like last year, he was 16. He was 6th the year before, 22, 19, 20, 18. His rookie year is 39th. Okay. This offense is scary to take pieces of. And he is the highest drafted piece of this offense currently. They've got Rome Odunze. They just went and got Loveland and Burden. Burden was a first round pick, and so you got DeAndre Swift that's familiar with the offensive mind that's been Johnson, and Caleb Williams is going to have to feed a lot of people, and he's going to have to feed this offense. I think that I still think DJ Moore is the best of this offense, but he had 140 targets last year. He had 136 targets the year before. With Chicago, I don't think he gets 110 in this current, setup of what they're going to
working towards.
Right. If these players all pan out now. Obviously, if they come out there and Odunze doesn't perform, because you remember last season, Odunze was being touted up there with Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison. He was right in that group of receivers. Yeah. So he's somebody that this year they're going to look for their investment back. He was a first round draft pick last year. Luther Burden, they're going to want their investment back. And so DJ Moore isn't the type he's going to go out there and cry if he's not getting all his targets. And so he's just going to fall into being, the dude and being a good teammate. And so, the Bears are very good on defense already. And they're not going to have to score 40 points a game.
Yeah, they almost won like 6 games last year just because of their defense. So I mean,
and then you got to take into account is Caleb Williams capable of distributing that many targets? To divvy up that offense. Is he going to throw? The Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer in their entire history as a team. Is Caleb Williams going to be that? Because he's going to have to throw for 4,000 yards in order for, in my opinion, in order for DJ Moore to be what he is, barring some crazy injuries and things like that. I mean, obviously, if they go out and 3 other receivers get hurt, and it's just DJ Moore and like Bob Jenkins,
and Cole Kmet.
Yeah, and
just him and Cole Kmet.
Yeah, and Cole Kmet, I also forgot, even though he's now, you got Loveland, they're both going to demand targets.
So Keenan Allen had 121 targets last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to go somewhere.
Right.
What's his name? The rookie, Roman Dunze, had 101.
Right.
Which he did really shitty with his 101 targets.
Yes.
So, but like you said, they've got to get, he's going to get.
Right.
Some of those.
What did Cole Kmet have? Like 60?
54, yeah.
Yeah. So you take that 54 and now you got Loveland, who's probably going to be 50. Yeah. So that's 100 targets to the tight end now.
Between you take that and then that leaves that 120. They got to give more to Dunze,
right,
to see what they got.
And they're going to throw to the running backs more than they did last season in this offense.
Whichever one it's going to be, Roshan or the rookie or
I think Swift right now. Swift was. I don't like DeAndre Swift. I mean, as a person, I don't know him, so I don't want to say like I don't like. Yeah, but as a fantasy player, I've never really liked him. But Ben Johnson knows him. Ben Johnson has not gone out and got any other running backs. They didn't draft a running back. They haven't signed any running backs, and so they're happy with the running backs they have. And the best one on paper is DeAndre Swift. Now, I think Roshan Johnson has a chance to really step up and do something in that backfield, but I don't know that he has the pass catching chops that DeAndre Swift has.
Yeah.
And so I almost put DeAndre Swift on here as a bargain to grab. So,
which it's great. I was looking at DeAndre Swift as either way, and I was like, dude is going off at like 20 or something, running back 20. And he somehow manages to finish as like RB 20 every year.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this dude is buns. He's washed up. He's nothing. And then you go look at his numbers, like, holy shit.
He's right now going off at RB23.
Yeah, like he's that's where he belongs. That's like
he's at his
spot.
value.
That's where he's at. He'll forever be.
The next show we'll do guys we think that are right at their value.
That's it. That's the whole show.
We'll be like We'll be like, oh look, this guy's going off at running back 21. That's about right.
Yeah, next guy. Yeah,
I love DJ Moore. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 20 this year. Yeah. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope DJ Moore finishes as a wide receiver 1. I as a Panther fan, as somebody who I wish they'd have never got rid of him. He's somebody that I've always loved, and I think he's great for football. I'm avoiding him in drafts.
Well, I will say that while he is only like 27, I think he's been in the league 13 or 15 years.
Yeah,
like he's been here for forever.
He was drafted the year after Brady, when he was like 4.
Yeah, that seems right. I'm not arguing that at all. That seems legit as hell.
All right, who's the next one on yours?
All right, so my next one is probably going to get loose followers and shit, but I don't know. Whatever it goes. Puka Nacua.
Okay.
Going off as wide receiver 4. And
oh no. You're going to make me stand up.
Oh man. Like the dude's uber talented. There's nothing, not saying anything about his game in any way, but I mean, he finished for his rookie year on 160 targets. And they signed Devontae Adams in the offseason, who has never had less than 150 targets in a season.
But they got rid of Cooper Kupp.
It doesn't matter because Cooper's only had like 75 targets the last 2 games or last 2 seasons since he's been injured. That's and true. The season that he was hyper targeted, he still only got 152 targets. So it's like they added a receiver who is, in all accounts of the measure, because he's done it for 9 years straight, better than Cooper Kupp. And is going to demand more targets, even though he's the better and he's more. There's no way that they're going to be able to feed Puka what he is required. Like that year, he had 160 targets, 105 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Unless he gets more touchdowns, is the only way that I see him being able to finish as wide receiver 4 this year. He would have to have 10 touchdowns, maybe 12 touchdowns to offset the amount of targets I don't think he's going to get, the amount of yards he's going to come short to get him into a wide receiver 4, if that makes sense.
Well, I was hoping that I could counter argue with you that the reason is because that he's going to be able to get those targets is because Matthew Stafford is going to throw more passes than he's thrown.
Oh God, that dude will be in a wheelchair by week 14 if he throws more passes than he's thrown.
But I was hoping. Here's what I was hoping. I was hoping that he had drastically decreased his passes in the
pass attempts.
When he first came to the Rams, their Super Bowl year, he threw 601 passes.
That's it.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess he did decrease. He threw 521 in 2023 and 517.
Yeah.
So if he gets back up in the 600 range, then maybe those targets can be there.
But you're talking a quarterback who's, I mean, he did, from what I read, took a pay cut to stay there.
Yeah.
He took it, and
well, I don't know. Here's the thing.
It wasn't like a pay cut, but
here's what happened. And this was he wanted. They're like, hey, if you don't want to stay here, you can look. So him and his agent shopped and
around.
Nobody was fucking paying what they wanted. They're like, hey, we will come to you. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of teams that want him. But whatever price tag he was putting on himself, they're like, nah, we're good.
Not,
And I think that's what happened. So he came back to the Rams and they're like, you know what? We're going to give you the hometown discount.
Yeah, we'll cut you in right here. But yeah, so I mean, like I feel that if I'm going to draft a wide receiver at the 4 spot, I would much rather have somebody I know who could 100% walk away with. Like, it's just such an early pick. I mean, you got to draft him with a 6 overall.
Yeah, I love Puka. I think there's some, because if you look after, you're looking at Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would take Amon-Ra St. Brown over Puka.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would take Malik over him just because it's the Giants, but
yeah, I might take Brian Thomas Jr. over
maybe
him.
Brian Thomas. You know,
even with the addition of Travis Hunter there, like I just, he was so like under the radar good for fantasy, like, and that team realistically needs to get better. So you think that something's got to give. I mean, I don't know. It's a hard position. This top 12 picks are hard to really differentiate which way you want to go with it.
I get what you're saying. I think last year, I will say this, just so you know, your take on Puka Nacua is very similar to my take on Saquon Barkley in preseason last year.
Well, yeah.
In this episode that we're doing right now, I was like, I'm not spending RB5 for Saquon Barkley. He's going to a new team, and you got the tush push.
Yeah.
And I gave this whole argument, and they were all valid. They were all like, yeah, that sounds right. And I was wrong.
But it's just where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I get it.
It's just like if you tell me Puka's going to finish 6, wide receiver 6, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
See, at the beginning of like when we're drafting, we're always looking for value. So you're like,
oh yeah,
you're always like, well, if I can get this guy here, he's probably going to be better. But when you're drafting like the 101. There's no such thing as value.
Oh yeah. No, you
can't get value then. So you take a Jamar Chase. If he finishes at wide receiver 5 and you didn't finish at wide receiver 1, you're like, you can't be like, oh, I didn't get mine. No. And so you got to. So when you're drafting the guys in this tier, I do understand what I'm saying, but I will say when you get down to where Puka's at the RB4, I don't like that spinny wheel. Let me pull this up real quick. All right, it's still recording.
Good. Okay, cool.
All right, but it's definitely not something that I'm comfortable with in the sense of there's the players that are behind him. Amon-Ra St. Brown to me is a far more reliable, safer
pick at that point. Derrick Henry even too. Like if you want to just go ahead and solidify a top 5, top
Derrick
6.
Henry being down at 11 overall is a
that's what I'm saying.
Fucking crime.
You could solidify a potential top 3 running back, maybe top 5 if he finishes 5. It's still in the top
at
6,
7,
7, 8 picks.
I would absolutely take him.
I'd do that too.
I mean, hell, I don't know how Brock Bowers is at 19.
Yeah,
that drives me crazy. So I would absolutely consider that.
So there's all that. That's where I'm at with it. Like I know the guys. I watch him play. That guy's electric.
Yeah,
boogie. He's definitely an amazing football player, but when it comes to fantasy, it's hard for me to put like that kind of stock in. When I know like Devontae Adams, he's got legitimate competition, like a guy that's been in the league for 7-8 years and just wrecking things. So.
I was ready to fight you, but I can see it. All right, well, this one might hurt your feelings a little bit, but my next one is Zay Flowers.
What? What?
Zay Flowers going off right now as wide receiver, 23, 52 overall. You got DK Metcalf after him. You're going to tell me that you would take Zay Flowers over DK Metcalf? Absolutely not. Jameson Williams, maybe Devonta Smith, but like, I don't know. I just, I don't trust. They got D-Hop is now with Baltimore. He's going to demand targets. You got two tight ends that are going to demand targets there. You've got Zay Flowers. You've got, they just gave a contract to Bateman, a decent contract to Bateman. Mm-hmm. They're going to want to get their money out of him. So I don't know. I mean,
Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, these are all people that can potentially take targets away.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I don't know. It bothers me to take him as a wide receiver 2. I would much rather take him as a high end 3. Or I don't know. I'm looking at the names under him, and I probably should have done that before. There's a lot of names under him I'm probably not going to draft over him, but there's some that I would. Like, if you go down even farther, for me, nope. That's not true. I was about to say Travis Hunter, but now that I started, my brain was like, no, that's not true.
You kind of run this around. I don't know. Like I was huge on Zay Flowers last year, and I think I said what he's going to finish top 12.
You said he's going to finish as wide receiver 1.
Yeah, and he didn't. But I mean, it was still. I also didn't feel that Derrick Henry was going to be 114% of their offense. I felt he'd be like 70% of their offense, and they still have to throw the ball a whole lot, but that wasn't the case. It's kind of he's safe. I think he's probably going to finish around that, maybe a little lower.
Yeah, he's probably at his value. That's probably the problem. I mean, I saw DK under him, and that was really like, But you also know I'm a big DK stan.
Yeah, well, he only had 4 touchdowns last year. I mean, if that number doubles, which is a possibility, if defenses start. They're not going to shut Henry down, but they can restrict Henry.
I just think DK is going to be hyper targeted by Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and that's a possibility too. I mean, DK could definitely finish over him. I'm not going to argue that at all. And it's kind of tough that they got him like right there. But it is a super weird.
George Pickens is at wide receiver 31. That dude has potential to go nuclear as well.
I love George Pickens. I love his attitude, his love for the game. It's a UFC, right? That's what he plays. I would have loved
to have seen him and DK on the same team, just beating the fuck out of
that. Would have been some gold. Yeah, definitely some gold.
All right,
but yeah, no, I could see where you're at on.
Who's the next one on yours?
All right, I got James Cook, RB14. ADP 31. It would contract or no, showing up to practice or no. I just the thing is, he wants money, and like he said in his interviews, he showed up to practice because he wants to get paid,
right?
And he's not going to get paid if he doesn't play. So if he's not at practice, he's not going to get his check. So at this point right now, we're in such a limbo that I'm nervous to take somebody that high, as RB14.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're putting a lot on it.
I mean, how many touchdowns did he have last year? 18?
16, 18. Yeah,
18.
With the 2 receiving touchdowns.
He's not going to score 18 touchdowns this year. I don't give a shit what you say. If you go look at I know Josh Allen won the MVP, but if you look at his pure stats, he fell off. He didn't throw for as many touchdowns as he generally throws for. He didn't throw for as many yards as he generally throws for. But, a lot of that had to do with Diggs leaving town. Mm-hmm. But if that offense reverts back to the mean of the other direction, if they start finding some talent at the receiver's position and he's able to, do what he does as a quarterback, that's going to take away from Josh Allen. I mean,
James Cook.
That's him.
Yeah.
Doing what he has to do. He's not going to run for that many touchdowns. And if he don't run for that many touchdowns, he's not finishing where he's being drafted.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to take 5, maybe 6 of those touchdowns potentially away. He finishes with 12. Which is still good.
Where did he finish as a running back last season, a half-point PPR?
Last season, half-point PPR, he was RB8.
RB8. Yeah, and so based off of the stat, if you take, when you say 5 of them away, so that's 35 points, fantasy points.
Yeah.
You take 35 fantasy points away, and the yards that come with them.
200, it brings them down like 200 points.
Yeah.
For the season.
Right. And so I'm with you. I'm out on him, period.
Yeah,
I don't know that James Cook is going to be sustained. I think that there's a better running back behind him on that roster.
Ray Davis.
I think Ray Davis is a better running back. He is better for what that offense wants to do.
Anytime Ray Davis was in the game more than 20%, he led the backfield.
Right.
But he wasn't out there much. It was like 3 games that season. But just saying, like, it's one of those where when he touches the ball, he does a lot with it. James Cook has to touch it the whole game to come out with 16 touchdowns. You know,
I will say this: if they come out tomorrow or whenever and they say we signed him to this big ass contract, my whole attitude will change.
It will change, yeah, because they're paying him to do it.
Yeah,
and they're going to
want to get everything out of him. But the thing is that I don't think they're going to give him a contract. I think he's going to just finally say, "Fuck it, I'm going to play this season," and in hopes that if they don't re-sign me when I play my last year, that somebody else will pick me up. And I think they're going to let him walk next year because I think, and if they're going to let him walk next year, guess what they're going to be doing this season? Figuring out they're going to have to figure out if Davis is good enough to keep, or if they're going to have to give Cook a contract. You know what I'm saying?
Davis or I mean, they still got Ty Johnson. They signed Ty Johnson to a new contract in the offseason. It's not a lot, but they signed him to a contract.
Don't get me started on Ty Johnson. That dude has vultured so many fucking fantasy points.
He's still, but I'm just saying it's weird that like he's still there. So there's some sort of
he's good for that offense. They like him because he knows the offense, he knows the team, he does whatever the fuck they want, and at times he can take over. His pass catching out of the backfield. I mean, there was one game last season. I think he caught like 20 passes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Crazy. He was. I was going out to try to get him in some of the running back hype leagues.
He's definitely a cuff if you've got him.
Or in best ball. Like he's a sneaky player in best ball to just throw on the bottom of the roster and not worried about. But
the contract situation with Cook
makes me nervous.
It definitely makes me nervous. And if he goes in the season without an extension, then I think that you're going to start seeing Davis get more touches, and then he's going to start being utilized more.
Cook's going to drop in this IDP a lot.
Absolutely.
Too, We saw with Lev Bell. We saw with all these guys that talk all this game before getting into it.
Lev Bell sat out a whole ass season and then went to the Jets. But I you know,
just saying,
it happens.
That preseason, that coming into it, like I want a contract. He showed up. He's playing, but is he playing? You know what I mean? Like, there's always that question in your mind too. Like, how shitty does he really want to be?
I really don't think the Bills are going to give him a contract. I think at the end of the day, if he decides he's going to hold in, because he can't hold out. That's the reason he showed up. Yeah, they don't let you hold out anymore.
He wants his money,
so he'll show up and he'll feign an injury, and you know, he'll have shin splints or something and not be able to play. But
who was it did that? That was Devontae Adams for
was
it D Adams
until he got traded to the Raiders. Yeah. All right, the last one on my overrated or overdrafted guys is Jameson Williams.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Winston, man.
No.
That's where if he's getting drafted, it's overdrafted. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. So, anybody out there drafting Jameson Winston?
Jameson Winston is hot garbage, but Jameson Williams. He's going off at wide receiver 25 right now, and he's going at 57 overall. Now, I will say, he is teetering where he could either turn into garbage or he could turn into gold. That is where he's at. He has the potential to shoot through the moon. The issue that I have is twofold. One, their offensive coordinator is gone. Their quarterback's coach is gone. Just about anybody and everybody who was very familiar with the offensive scheme is coaching either as an offensive coordinator or a head coach somewhere else. Yeah. And so I don't know what the scheme's going to be. Are they going to come in and try to keep that Ben Johnson scheme? And if so, are they going to go out there and do that? It might be threefold. Their Pro Bowl center just retired. Part of their strength is keeping Goff upright.
Yep.
Now they did draft a second round guard they're going to convert to a center who's pretty good. So he could go out there and he could, just keep going. But there's that. And then I know nobody's talking about him, but Isaac Tesla is a second round draft pick.
Yeah.
Now, when they drafted him, everybody was like, what the fuck? Why are you taking this dude so high? He doesn't, he was being scouted as like a 4th, 5th round draft pick. They took him in the second.
Yeah.
But he is, whatever he is and why ever he is, they're going to try to get him targets. And so now you got another wide receiver. You look at last year, they didn't really have a third wide receiver that really demanded a lot. Jahmyr Gibbs took a lot of that load. Their tight end took a lot of that load. And so if Isaac Tesla does show to be capable, then he could demand touches, and it's going to be hard for Williams to stay around that wide receiver 25 thing. My issue is, I guess with some of these is I just worry about they're very risky stock. You know, it's like if you buy DJ Moore, you buy Flowers, you buy Jameson Williams, it's a risky stock. You know how when you can do your 401k, you can be like, I want to do the really risky shit, or I just want to be conservative.
It's high payoff, or you just lose.
Yeah, you just lose everything. And that's why I say I don't think Jameson Williams is going to be. I don't think he's going to be. Oh my God, what's his lips for the Raiders? Just average receiver.
Oh, Jacoby Myers.
I don't think he's going to be a Jacoby Myers, where he's just solid. He's either explosive balling or he's doo-doo trash.
I will say Jameson Williams had 1,000+ yards on 58 receptions.
Oh yeah.
He excelled.
He don't need a lot to do.
He doesn't need.
But where did he finish?
22.
Yeah.
He was wide receiver 22, or excuse me, 19 and half point PPR.
Yeah. And
he had 1,001 yards on 58 receptions, but he did have 7 touchdowns.
How many targets?
91.
91. So he's
91. So he's about 60%.
Yeah.
58%.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
But still, it's insane to think of to get 58 receptions and still put over 1,000 yards. That's pretty stout.
All right, you got one more on the over.
One.
Yeah,
last one on the over.
And I'll go ahead and say this will be the last thing we do, and then the next podcast will be the undervalue, because I didn't realize it was going to go this long.
We talk a lot. That's really what we're doing here. Is just an average talk a whole shit ton podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my last one is RJ Harvey. I dug a little deep, but I mean not so much. I mean, he's going off. I have to look. I'm sorry, write that one down, but it's somewhere right.
24. I'm pretty sure RB 24. Yeah, RB 24, 58th overall.
58th overall, and I just personally feel there's so much other value potentially in that area.
Yeah,
this dude, yes, he was drafted to be the guy. They haven't had a guy. They've been playing 5 different running backs every game. Whoever gets to start has a high hand. That's it. No, the rest don't matter.
Right.
And it feels like they're finally trying to.
Yeah, they invested in the second round. Yeah,
put people in a position that they trust in that position. They went and got Evan Ingram as a tight end. That was another flux.
Joker.
Yeah. And then they got RJ Harvey. They drafted him, and dude's uber talented. And then
I was all in.
Then shortly after this, you get this news. Oh, J.K. Dobbins signed to the Broncos. I'm like,
and it's for it's like $5 million with incentives.
It's a decent deal to where they're going to be started. And if you watch his interviews, he's talking about this is where he's always wanted, like where he's been working to be since his injuries. He's been working his way back, and he came from the Ravens with all that.
Fits what Sean Payton wants to do
so greatly.
So does RJ Harvey, but we've seen
what Dobbins can do.
You saw what he did last year with the Chargers. It was for a limited time.
Yep.
But you got to understand that was the first season coming back from the injuries.
Yep.
And whatnot.
And they worked him.
And their offense didn't really. Wasn't technically about what he's about.
Wasn't built to fit his scheme and everything. So I don't know. It makes me a little nervous to grab RJ Harvey this early. I mean, when you can go grab Devonta Smith, even Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin. I don't know. Godwin's come back off the injury. I probably wouldn't go that far, but I mean, I would definitely.
I'd take Caleb Johnson over him.
Yeah, go ahead and grab Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
I'd take George Pickens, Jordan Addison. Depending on the 3 day, if he misses 3 games, then probably not. But I mean, still, there's so much talent down here that has high potential that it's tough for me to want to focus right now on that. So and
RJ Harvey is like 74 years old.
Yeah, so 72. But
so he's coming out. He's already old as balls, but. I think RJ Harvey is going to be good for this offense, but I'm with you. He's not. He's a rookie. Temper.
It almost makes me nervous. That
I would take Caleb Johnson though, so I have to own that. But I really like Caleb Johnson. I think he's going to be awesome.
It almost makes me feel like they're trying to do what they did last year and just pick a couple backs that we don't know who the fuck to pick and play each week. If that makes sense, I will say this:
if J.K. Dobbins hadn't signed there, I would be completely okay with
100%
this.
on RJ
I'd
Harvey.
be completely okay.
But that's
just know that J.K. Dobbins has the talent.
Yep.
At least even if it's only for a small window of time.
Week 1 through 8.
If it's 5-6 games, and he takes those touches and then he starts tapering away and then RJ Harvey shows up, he's not going to finish there. You know what I'm saying?
He can't be drafted here in that situation.
Right. It's another
he
situation
needs to be drafted down in the 70s and 80s.
You need to monitor what J.K. Dobbins does at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
Wait for him to start slowly trickling off and go, all right, it's time to go get RJ Harvey.
Yep, go grab him. Like week 4, when you see him have that one game where he hits the ground a little hard.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You start shaking your hand, rubbing your hands
you
together.
You start watching his yards per carry go from like 4.6 to like 3.2 by week 5. And you're like, okay, J.K. he's starting to get tired. Legs getting a little tired.
It's that time.
I do want to say one thing though about J.K. Dobbins real quick. J.K. Dobbins, that dude, he has overcome like so much in a very short window. Like we talk about Nick Chubb also, but like what he has overcome, the injuries, the Achilles and the knee and the everything, and he's still getting paid, getting opportunity and working his ass off. That dude, I hope that he is successful. I don't think he'll ever be like great.
Yeah.
But he is he's viable, he's useful, and I think he's somebody who people should look up to as far as his work ethic. I don't know how he is as a person, but his work ethic is through the roof, in my opinion.
5 years in the league and has never played a full season.
Never played a full season. So, there's that. But it's like the things that have happened haven't been
it's not turf toe. It's not turf toe.
No,
it's not like a fracture or broken finger.
Not like a quad.
He ruptured.
Devastating.
He ruptured an Achilles. He tore his ACL.
Yeah, it's devastating stuff, bro.
It's one thing after another thing. That's his legs are entirely bionic right now. It's surprising if he runs the 40 in less than 10 seconds because it's all metal. It's just ka-ching, 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 ka-ching,
he's like,
as he runs it, man.
He's like the T1000 or T100 or whatever the fuck it is.
He's got that thing that's got the backwards knees that runs the robot. That's what he is right now. This moment, he's so built up. He's gonna be what was it, Michael Scott?
Oh yeah,
the Bionic Man.
The Bionic Man. Yeah,
that's what he sounds like when he runs past you.
Yeah, yes.
But he's gonna run past
and
a lot of defenders.
Slow motion, but it looks like it just because
it sounds like it. It's just the whole time. That's
they're
what
like,
it is.
hey, why do you got this WD-40 in your locker? And he's like, don't worry about it, bro.
Don't be asking questions you don't want answers to.
Well,
but yeah,
there it is. There's some of our guys that we think are being drafted too high. I think we put them on the shit wagon. Matt thinks that we're taking them off the hype train.
I think that they are currently on the hype train, and you're saying that they are being put on the shit wagon.
So therefore, I say they're the shit wagon.
You're rescuing them
because I'm not rescuing them. I'm demoting them to the shit wagon.
And I'm over here going, "Hey, dude, get off the hype train. Get on his shit wagon." Because that's where you're at right now. You're on the hype train.
All right. So there it is. In the next episode, we'll be breaking down the guys we think were undervalued. So
the ones that are on the shit train.
Yes, that are going to be moving to the hype train.
Exactly.
Shoot, motherfucker.
And that's what it is.
It's a shit wagon, not the shit train.
Excuse
me. Shit train's a whole different thing.
Not getting into that. We don't have enough time for this podcast. But yes, shit wagon.
Have you ever seen the Human Centipede? Never mind.
Elaborate.
All right, so there it is. Getting ready for the redraft season, trying to get into that mindset and move forward. So if anything we say or do helps you get to that average place in your leagues, that means we did our job. Because when you finish average, Matt,
you not losing.
You don't finish last. So hope you guys have a good one out there, and we'll talk to you the next time we talk to you.
Later.
Oh, God.
Allegedly.
Holla.
Allegedly.